When anxiety takes root in the body and mind, when your thoughts race like wind through 1,000 branches and nothing feels grounded, Zen invites you to return. Return to what is immediate, real, and already here. The feeling of anxiety is not a flaw or a failure, but a signal, a bell that rings within your being, asking you to pause, to listen, to breathe. In the Zen tradition, we do not fight the storm. We sit with it, observe it, and let it pass without judgment. When you are feeling anxious, the first thing to practice is presence. Not the idea of being present, but the actual experience of it. Let your breath be your anchor. Feel the air entering your nostrils, moving through your body, and exiting with a quiet release. This is not something to rush. The more anxious you feel, the slower you should go. Bring your attention into your hands, your feet, the space around your heart. Anxiety pulls us into imagined futures and regrets of the past, but presence calls us back into the now, where peace is always available, if we are still enough to notice. The second thing to practice is non-attachment to thoughts. Zen does not say stop thinking. It says stop clinging to every thought as truth. Your anxious thoughts are like clouds drifting across the sky of your awareness. You are the sky, not the clouds. Watch the thoughts arise, acknowledge them, but let them float away without chasing them. I'm not safe. I can't handle this. This will never end. These thoughts feel urgent, but they are not your essence. Return to your breath. Return to what you can see, hear, and feel. This moment is manageable. This moment is enough. The third practice is compassion. For yourself, first and foremost. When you are anxious, it is easy to criticize yourself for not being calm, strong, or productive. But Zen teaches that gentleness is the way. Imagine the anxious part of you as a small child or frightened animal. Would you yell at it, or would you offer a safe presence, a quiet lap, a hand to hold? Practice speaking to yourself as a friend. Say inwardly, "It's okay to feel this. This too will pass. I am here with you." These three practices, presence, non-attachment, and compassion, do not eliminate anxiety, but they change your relationship to it. Anxiety no longer becomes something to resist or fear, but a teacher, guiding you back to the path. You are not broken because you feel anxious. You are human, and in your humanity, you are worthy of patience, kindness, and care. The more often you return to these practices, the more natural they become. Like stones smoothed by the river, your nervous system can soften over time. Zen does not promise immediate transformation, but it does offer refuge, a quiet space within where you can meet whatever arises without being overwhelmed. Keep practicing, keep returning. The path is not outside of you. It begins with one breath, taken with awareness and compassion. And as you begin to understand that anxiety is not the enemy but a signal, a messenger bearing news of inner imbalance, you come to appreciate that this feeling too has its place on the path of awakening. The Zen way is not to reject any part of your experience, but to bow to it gently as a teacher. Every anxious breath becomes an invitation to come closer to the core of your being. And in that closeness, you realize that you do not need to wait for a future moment to find peace. It's here, right in the middle of the storm. If you have the courage to stop running and simply be. The first practice, presence, is deceptively simple, but deeply transformative. It asks you to stop trying to escape the moment and instead to melt into it completely. When washing your hands, just wash your hands. When walking, just walk. When drinking tea, just drink tea. Bring your entire being into the act, and the act itself becomes a meditation. Anxiety often arises when the mind becomes split, part in the past, part in the future, nowhere in the now. But when you bring all of yourself into this breath, into this step, into this gesture, the mind finds no room for worry. It rests, it watches, it breathes, it becomes whole again. Even folding laundry or brushing your teeth can become acts of healing if you bring your attention to them with care. And the second practice, non-attachment to thought, is the quiet superpower of a peaceful mind. Thoughts come and thoughts go. You are not required to follow them. This is the essence of inner freedom. The anxious mind is often like a wild horse, galloping in every direction. But in Zen, we do not chase the horse. We watch, we breathe. And in that watching, the horse eventually tires, slows, and returns. Meditation helps here, not as a grand ritual, but as a daily return. Sit quietly, observe what arises, and let it go. There is no failure in meditation. The wandering mind is not a problem. It is an opportunity to practice coming back. Again and again, you return. The moment you notice you've wandered is the moment you awaken. That's the practice. And the third, perhaps the most essential, is compassion. For yourself and for others. Compassion is not just a warm feeling. It is an active choice to treat your inner life with tenderness. When anxiety arises, ask yourself, what would love do right now? Would it scold or would it hold? Would it rush or would it rest? So often we are kinder to strangers than to ourselves. But Zen reminds us, there is no enlightenment without compassion, and compassion starts with you. Wrap your arms around your own fear, not to fix it, but to let it know it is not alone. Sit with yourself, like you would sit with a dear friend in pain. Say, I see you. I'm not leaving. We will get through this together. That is the medicine of mindfulness. That is the balm of Buddhist wisdom. And gradually, in practicing these three ways, presence, detachment from thought, and self-compassion, you begin to relate to anxiety, not as something that defines you, but as something that visits and then departs. Like a cloud, like a breeze, like a wave. You learn to ride the waves instead of being crushed by them. And in time, the waves feel less threatening because you trust the ocean beneath. You trust yourself. You see that your worth is not based on how calm or productive you are. Your worth is intrinsic. You exist, and that is enough. Each anxious day becomes another chance to return to stillness, another step in your unfolding path. Zen doesn't ask you to stop feeling. It asks you to stop fleeing. It asks you to sit quietly with whatever is, to become intimate with your own fear, and in that intimacy, to discover peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. This is the kind of peace the world cannot give or take away. It's the peace of a mind that knows itself. So, when anxiety next comes to visit, greet it like an old friend. Say, ah, you again. Sit with me while I breathe. Make a home inside yourself so still, and accepting that even your anxiety softens in your presence. That is the practice. That is the path. That is the way. And as the stillness deepens, you realize that anxiety is not a flaw to eliminate, but a condition to understand. Zen teaches us not to chase away the smoke, but to find the fire beneath it. When your breath tightens and your chest feels heavy, you need not panic. You return again and again to the root of the moment. Perhaps your hands are trembling, or your mind is racing with what-ifs, but within that swirl lies a sacred opportunity, the invitation to slow down and choose presence over panic. And here, Zen does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest. If you feel afraid, admit it. If you feel lost, say so. In naming our pain without shame, we begin to heal. Presence does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means showing up anyway, with your fear, your trembling, your open heart. And when you do this, something subtle begins to shift. Anxiety loses its grip when you stop struggling against it. You see that thoughts are like birds flying across the sky of your mind. You do not need to catch them. You simply let them pass. In this way, non-attachment becomes a gift to yourself. Each time you choose not to follow a fearful story, you strengthen your inner peace. You remember that you are the sky, not the storm. And in that spaciousness, compassion becomes the most natural response. You begin to cradle your inner wounds, the way a parent holds a crying child, not with harshness, but with care. Zen reminds you that healing is not a destination, but a returning. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of stillness is a return to what matters. And when you feel anxious, what matters most is not fixing it, but feeling it fully without judgment. The more you allow, the less you suffer. Because suffering is resistance. Pain is just sensation. Let the pain move through you like wind through trees. Let it teach you, soften you, humble you. You are not alone in this. All sentient beings suffer. Even the Buddha suffered. But he did not run. He sat beneath a tree and met his pain with presence. And so can you. You don't need to retreat to a monastery to practice. You can begin right where you are, at your desk, in traffic, washing dishes, lying awake at night. Every moment is a doorway into the present. Every breath is a teacher. Every emotion is a messenger. And anxiety, though sharp and persistent, is trying to help you. It wants your attention. It wants you to listen. So listen. Put down your phone. Turn off the noise. Come back to your breath. Place a hand on your heart. Ask gently, what do you need right now? The answer may surprise you. Often, anxiety is the soul's way of saying, slow down. You've forgotten what matters. It is a call to return, to simplicity, to kindness, to the body, to now. And the more you practice these three things, presence, non-attachment, compassion, the less frightening anxiety becomes. You don't have to win against it. You only need to befriend it. Anxiety thrives in silence and shame. But when brought into the light of mindfulness, it begins to soften. Like ice melting in warm hands, it shifts form and flows away. And what remains is you, whole, awake, grounded. Zen does not promise a life without difficulty, but it does offer the tools to walk through difficulty with grace. It teaches you that the way out is not to run faster, but to stop running altogether, to pause, to breathe, to feel, to trust that everything you need is already inside you. So when anxiety knocks again, as it will, open the door, welcome it, sit down with it, offer it tea, and then, together, let it go. And as you sit with your fear, holding it in compassionate awareness, you begin to notice a subtle shift, not in the external world, but within your perception. What once seemed unbearable now becomes a ripple on the surface of a vast ocean. This vastness is your true self, your awakened awareness, your Buddha nature, which cannot be shaken by passing storms. The second thing to practice then is non-resistance. In Zen, there is deep wisdom in surrender, not in giving up, but in ceasing to struggle. You stop trying to fix everything. You stop labeling your emotions as good or bad. You simply let them be. The moment you say, this too is welcome, you open a door to peace. Resistance adds a second arrow to our pain, but acceptance dissolves that arrow with grace. When you resist what is, you create a wall within. But when you allow, you create space, and space is where healing breathes. Anxiety thrives in constriction. It cannot survive in open presence. So widen your gaze. Feel the ground beneath you. Touch the earth. Let your feet remind you. You belong here. You are safe. You are part of this moment. And this moment is all there is. It's not about solving your life. It's about living it fully as it is. This does not mean you should ignore responsibilities or deny pain, but rather that you meet each experience with full presence and zero resistance. The third thing to practice is loving kindness, or metta. And this is not just a feeling, it is a practice, a discipline, a way of being with yourself that is gentle and non-judgmental. When anxiety arises, the inner critic often awakens too. It says, you should be stronger. You should have it together. What's wrong with you? But Zen asks us to respond with softness. You whisper back, nothing is wrong. This is part of being human. Loving kindness doesn't wait until you're calm. It wraps its arms around you in the storm. You don't have to earn self-compassion. It is your birthright. You are allowed to feel overwhelmed. You are allowed to not have the answers. Even the wisest masters once sat where you sit, trembling before their thoughts. But through presence, non-resistance, and love, they found their way back home. And so can you. This moment, no matter how chaotic, is your path. And as the breath anchors you, as you soften into your body, as you repeat gentle phrases, may I be safe, may I be well, may I be at ease, you begin to plant seeds of inner peace. Over time, these seeds bloom, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, with patience. Zen does not rush the flower into blooming. It simply waters the soil and trusts the process. So trust your process. Even now you are healing. Even now you are growing. Do not measure your peace in grand epiphanies, but in the simple act of choosing to stay present, one breath at a time. Notice how your body feels. Feel your chest rising, your shoulders dropping. This is your sanctuary, always available. You do not have to go anywhere to find peace. It is already here, beneath the noise, behind the fear. Just as the sky holds every cloud, your awareness holds every feeling. You are the space in which anxiety arises and dissolves. You are not broken. You are becoming. Let yourself become. Let yourself be. Be the still point in the storm. Be the calm eye of the hurricane. Be the watcher, not the warrior. Be the mountain, unshaken by the wind. And as you walk through your life with this awareness, you will discover that anxiety is not the enemy. It is a bell, calling you back to what matters. Let it call you home. Let it teach you how to breathe again, how to trust again, how to love again. These are the three practices: presence, non-resistance, and loving kindness. They are not complex, but they are powerful. Return to them as often as needed. With each return, you come closer to yourself, and in this closeness, anxiety loses its grip. In this closeness, you remember, there is nothing wrong with you. There is only the beautiful, messy unfolding of your human experience. May you walk this path with gentleness. May you treat your anxious heart like a sacred guest. May you find stillness in the storm. May you trust that you are enough, exactly as you are. This is the Zen way. And as we deepen this understanding, we come to see that anxiety, while uncomfortable, is not a curse. It is a signal, a sacred whisper that something within us is asking to be held with more presence, more care, more patience. Often anxiety arises when our minds are living in a future that hasn't happened or clinging to a past that cannot be changed. The present moment, however, is where life is real, where breath happens, where healing begins. So we return again and again to the breath, not because the breath is special, but because it is real. Each inhale and exhale grounds us in the now. When you are anxious, your mind spins like a wheel out of control. But when you breathe with full awareness, even for a moment, you step off that wheel. You stop being pulled by thoughts and start witnessing them. You see, in Zen, we are not trying to control the mind, but to understand its nature. And the nature of the mind is movement. It will think. It will worry. But you are not the mind. You are the awareness behind it. And from this place of quiet watching, a gentle truth emerges. You are safe in this moment. Even if your heart races, even if your stomach churns, even if the mind screams, the moment itself is still safe. Practice anchoring yourself in this truth. Use your senses. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel the temperature of the air. Smell something familiar. Taste something grounding. Look gently at the world without judgment. Let your body become your temple, your refuge, your ground. This physicality helps break the loop of mental noise. When you're anxious, thoughts become like loud drums. So listen instead to the whisper of your body. It speaks in sensations, in fatigue, in tension, in softness. Ask it, what do you need? Often it simply wants to be acknowledged, to be felt, to be honored. And so we offer it our presence, not to fix, but to hold. Just as a parent holds a crying child without needing to solve anything, we hold our anxious selves with the same love. And in doing so, the storm begins to calm. Not because we forced it, but because we allowed space for it to pass. This is non-resistance, and it is a profound practice. It takes courage to sit with discomfort. But every time you do, you grow stronger. Not in rigidity, but in resilience. Zen teaches that the bamboo is stronger than the oak, not because it resists the wind, but because it bends. So too must we bend with our emotions. Flow with them. Let them teach us. Let them pass through without gripping or running. This is how we stop adding pain to pain. And from this spacious presence, we add the final practice, loving kindness, not in abstract terms, but in real, tangible care. Speak to yourself as you would a dear friend. Replace judgment with curiosity. Replace shame with kindness. Say to yourself, I see you. I'm here for you. You're doing your best. These words are medicine, and they matter, especially when you don't feel strong, especially when you're tired, especially when the world feels too loud. In those moments, your gentleness becomes your power. This loving kindness extends not only to yourself, but to others, because when you are anxious, it's easy to turn inward and forget that every being struggles. But when you remember that everyone is carrying something, you soften. Your heart opens. You begin to see that you are not alone, that your pain is not a failure. It is a shared thread in the fabric of human experience. And so you breathe for yourself, and you breathe for others. You soften for yourself, and you soften for others. You forgive your own fragility, and in doing so, you begin to forgive the world. This is the hidden blessing of anxiety. It can open us to greater compassion, greater wisdom, and deeper connection. If we let it, if we stop fighting it, if we meet it as we would a sacred guest. So, practice these three things: presence, non-resistance, and loving kindness. Practice them not once, but again and again. Make them your companions, your daily rituals, your way of walking in the world. When the mind spins, return to the breath. When emotions rise, allow them space. When judgment comes, choose compassion. And slowly, like a stone becoming smooth in a river, your nervous system softens. Your mind quiets. Your heart steadies. You begin to trust again, not in certainty, but in your own capacity to remain centered amidst the unknown. This is Zen. Not an escape, but an embrace. Not a cure, but a way. A way of living that says, this moment is enough. A way that honors every feeling, a way is a part of the whole. A way that welcomes life exactly as it is, even in fear, even in doubt, even in pain, especially then, because those are the moments when practice matters most. Not when life is easy, but when it asks the most of us. So if you are anxious, you are not failing. You are being invited. Invited to turn inward, to be still, to be gentle, to be awake. Follow that invitation. Trust that your inner stillness is not gone. It's just waiting for your return. And return you shall, again and again, until anxiety no longer feels like the enemy, but like the beginning of your own unfolding. The journey back to yourself, walked one breath at a time. And as we carry the gentle thread of our practice forward, we begin to realize that anxiety is not something to erase, but something to understand. In understanding, we develop a friendship with our inner world. We learn that our anxiety may not be a signal that something is wrong with us, but perhaps that something needs our loving attention. And in this compassionate awareness, we return to the first practice, presence. Presence is not complicated. It does not require silence, perfection, or retreat from the world. It simply asks us to meet this moment fully, with whatever is here. Whether we are drinking tea, sitting in traffic, or standing in line at the store, we can breathe. We can feel the floor beneath us. We can become aware of our posture, our breath, our heartbeat. This simple act of returning to now cuts through the fog of future worry and past regret. We stop time, and in that stopping, we open. The second practice, non-resistance, teaches us that peace is not found in eliminating difficult emotions, but in not being at war with them. When we resist, we double the suffering. When we say, I shouldn't be anxious, we create tension around the tension. But if we say, anxiety is here, with no story, no shame, just acknowledgement, we breathe. We create space. And in that space, transformation begins. Just as clouds move when the sky is still, emotions move when the mind is calm. We do not chase the clouds away. We watch them drift. The same is true with our anxiety. It will rise. It will fall. But we are the sky, not the weather. The third practice is loving kindness, the salve for the inner ache we so often carry in silence. Speak kindly to yourself. Hold your heart as if it belonged to someone you deeply loved. Stop measuring your worth by productivity or how well you appear to be coping. Instead, honor your softness. Be proud of the moments you chose to breathe instead of react. The times you showed up, despite fear. The days you carried heaviness and still made it through. This is courage in its truest form. And when you practice loving kindness long enough, it becomes your inner voice. Your anxiety doesn't disappear, but it no longer feels like a storm. It becomes a signal, a wave, a teacher. And in this wisdom, your relationship with anxiety softens. You stop asking, how do I get rid of it? And instead ask, what is it showing me? Maybe it shows you that you're tired, or that you've been pretending to be okay. Maybe it reveals old wounds still longing to be seen. Whatever it brings, your job is not to judge, but to listen. In Zen, we bow to everything, joy and sorrow, hope and despair, because all of it is life. All of it deserves our attention, and in that bow, we find humility. We find gratitude. We remember that even our struggles are sacred. And so, as you move through your days, let these three practices be your lanterns. When anxiety arises, do not run. Pause. Breathe. Come back to your body. Feel your feet. Listen. Let yourself cry if you need to. Let yourself be quiet. If words don't come, let yourself be human. And through it all, keep returning to presence. Keep softening into non-resistance. Keep whispering kind words to yourself. You are not broken. You are breaking open. And in that opening is your true path. The path of Zen is not about perfection. It is about returning. 100 times a day we return to now, to breath, to heart, to simplicity. In Zen there is a saying, chop wood, carry water. It reminds us that the most ordinary tasks hold the most extraordinary truths. When you are anxious, wash the dishes with attention, fold clothes with care, water plants slowly. Let your actions become meditations. Let your life become the practice. And slowly, the sharpness of anxiety softens. It becomes a teacher, not a tyrant. It becomes part of your awakening. You learn to sit with discomfort without abandoning yourself. You learn to stay. And in staying, you find peace. Not because everything is calm, but because you have learned how to be the calm. You carry stillness with you. You become the refuge you were seeking. This is the gift of the path. This is the practice. And this is your reminder. You have everything you need inside you already. The breath is always here. The present is always accessible. The heart is always waiting for you to come home. So come home again and again. No matter how anxious, no matter how lost, the path is always beneath your feet, and peace is always just one breath away. If this message resonates, subscribe for daily Zen reflections and guided wisdom to help you reconnect, reflect, and become fully yourself. Until then, remember, your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts.